Hi and welcome to Destroyer Live number 81. We're continuing from the last time. Nico from Strike. I know we have a little video outage somewhere out there with a little blinking on the movie, but it's so damn good, so we'll just leave it as it is.
He's a wonderful guest, and he has so many stories to tell. So
yeah, it's incredible. Yeah. It's just like these two episodes is like we've done it more or less for ourselves. So if you like it, it's we love it, and it seems like people have been digging the first episode. So it will be long, it will be good, but it's a lot of great stories. So now over to Nico, and we're not going to try to pronounce his last name again.
No.
Nico.
No. Nico.
Okay, and then we are back again with Nico.
Hello.
It seems like people loved the last episode, so I think we'll just continue where we left off in 1993 with Revenge.
92.
92. I'm kidding. 93 is the first time I met you.
The Foundation Forum was 93.
Yeah. Let's just start at the Revenge tour. You went over for the Revenge tour?
In the States, yes. Yeah. Yes. Because, they did the club tour first, and I went there in New York, as I said. That's where I also saw Peter. I met Peter for the first time there.
Yeah.
Because I never met him before, and saw him at the show at the Ritz. And
that was before the Kiss tour?
There was at the same time, maybe just a little before.
Okay.
I remember in the same week or 10 days, I saw Kiss and Peter Criss, and then the European tour, just UK. Then they did the European promo tour, where did a meet and greet with the fan club members, and then after that I went to I think that was in November, something like that.
Yeah.
In November it was the US tour, the proper tour, with the full stage, with the Statue of Liberty, and that was fantastic. I remember somebody just posted me something from the Detroit show, and I wrote that was my 100th Kiss show. So I lost count now. I'm between 200 and 300 somewhere. Yeah. But I remember for sure the one that was the 100 show. So what better show that the one that's going to be a live 3, or that that was supposed to be, and so yeah. So I went to the tour. The highlight of that, I mean, at least for me, is the great shots. The shot that I got of Gene breathing fire that ended up in the Alive 3 album, inside cover. Yeah. Yes, that is exactly on the cover with the credit, because Kiss didn't put the credit inside the album.
They didn't?
And I said, no.
Wow.
Well, that's a bit of, but you cannot control things. It's not that they just didn't put my name; they just didn't put anybody's name in the credits.
That album cover has the quality control. Quality control on that album cover is quite shitty.
Yeah, well, the only disappointment was that it wasn't my name.
Yeah, but there's a lot of things wrong in that album cover. It's like but it's like what albums the songs are from, and just stupid things like that. It's like it's just incredible that they made all those mistakes in the cover.
Especially because it's a live 3, and people would expect to, at least try and do better than the others.
Yeah.
But you know.
What's the story about the picture? Can you tell me the story? How it ended in the.
Yeah. Okay. I got back from the tour, obviously, and at one point I received a fax from the Kiss office, the one in Pavonia Avenue, the one in Jersey City, and they said the band would like to see your picture from the tour because they might possibly use it on Live 3. I was like, oh. I actually just shipped all the. They actually, unfortunately, they wanted the negatives. And I'm thinking, where are they going to end up, these negatives? Am I going to see them again? But I said, you know, the chance is really great to have my photo in one of the Alive album. So I'll give the negative. So I'll send the negative over, and I didn't know anything until I actually saw the cover. So they didn't really tell me we picked this, we picked that. And actually, to get the negatives back, I actually had to go to the office personally. I go like probably was a year after or months after. I'm like, okay, where is my negatives? Because I was asking a few times by mail, but I didn't see those negatives back. So I finally, because I was there once in a while for the conventions in New York, and so once that I was there, I went to see the office, which was good also to see how the office looked like, and I got my negatives back.
Okay.
A strange story.
And money.
Exactly, that's what I was gonna say. A strange thing is that when I gave the photos, I didn't care about getting paid because we never had money deals. It's not that I give you these photos and you give me this money, then I get these passes. It's always been up until now all free in a way that I give my stuff for free to them, and they're free to use it, and they always help me with the passes, interviews, whatever, things that I ask them. So it's never been like a matter of money. I don't ask them money to run the magazine, and they don't ask me money from the profit I make on the magazine. So it's always been like a free exchange. But when I was at the office, the guy at the office told me, did you get the check for the photo? And I was like, was I supposed to get a check for my photograph? And they say, yeah, of course. All the photographers, they send in the request how much they want, and we send the money. I was like, okay. So if it's just a matter of writing. And so at that point, I wrote the letter, and I said, well, I was told that I'm supposed to get money, so this is my fee, and I never got an answer back.
You never did?
No, but you see, I felt even bad because I thought, well, what if this letter ended up in Paul and Jean's hands, and they looking that I'm asking for money, I'm going to be looking like the guy who wants money for his job, which I didn't want. And so now I'm going to be looking like a guy who, asked for money. And so I always regret that I had to write this letter, but I never meant to do it. So they told me, write a letter, ask the money. I said, okay. And then I felt right, that I didn't want to write it. You see, at one point, damage are already done. So I might have looked like I'm already picturing Paul and Jill's face. Oh, does he want money? We don't.
Suddenly you're on the shit list instead.
Yeah.
I felt like, okay, so, luckily nobody mentioned that anymore up until now.
But how many shows did you see on the Revenge tour, on the US tour?
On the US tour, I would say probably around 10. I usually the only one I remember really exactly is the Crazy Night. It was the first tour, and all the others roughly I always did like around 10 shows because I always plan 2 weeks of touring, and in 2 weeks of touring with the days off, you always ended up of being out of 14 days 10 shows, or at least I would try and go see the tour where they would play the shows one after the other. So in fact I ended up most times to see Kiss in the East Coast and never in Texas West Coast, because on the other side of the states the distance were much farther away places from one to another, and so to tour there either you had to catch different planes or spend a lot of time driving. With the East Coast it was always a matter of 500 k's a day of traveling. That was around the average, and so there was so that's why I was always between New York and Detroit. It's always the east part, north. Rarely I did something around the most it was South Carolina, that area. I think at the world tour, and it was plus New York is always a place that I love to go. I have friends, sometimes girlfriends there, and pay visit here and there, tour and things, and so yeah, I was always ending up and pretty much 10 shows I would say, usually around.
And what did you think about the tour? I mean, there were a lot of new songs were played from the Revenge album. There was a lot of, they did the stripper thing and Take It Off. They did,
The stripper thing was welcome.
but it wasn't, there wasn't that many, sold out shows. There wasn't, I mean, the crowd on the tour wasn't that much, was it?
No, but at least was bigger than the Out in the Shade. Out in the Shade, they felt that it wasn't crowded at all. They were not playing in big places. With the Revenge, actually, they played the Meadowlands and things that they were, fairly big as venues. So no, I didn't feel like the shows were in small places, and so yeah, no, it felt okay. Plus, the stage was good, with the Statue of Liberty. No, the States has always been great as a tour, because in Europe they try to always come with a smaller version of their stage, and always the places were not always big. In the States, they have bigger venues, and so they could travel easier, cheaper for them to travel, so they would always bring a better stage. And the Statue of Liberty was a cool stage, I thought.
How were the access you had to the band during the tour compared to the other tours?
Well, okay, as I say, the first tour, Crazy Night, they just gave me the circ passes. And those were the ones that you pretty much were allowed in only when there was nothing happening. Instead, from the Out in the Shade, I was given the laminates. Yeah. Actually, my first laminate was actually that one. Yeah, was the Out in the Shade. And then from the Out in the Shade on, I always got these the laminates. The laminates were the VIP laminates. Not the one latches. Nowadays they give me all latches, but not really big thing. Also, because at least me, when I had the laminate, even if I could go in some place, I didn't go unless I knew that it was okay for me to be there. let's say, for example, I could have even sneaked in the dressing room somehow, but I never actually went in the dressing room. So far, up till now, you never know. Life is still long. But so far, I never been inside the dressing room while they were getting ready. I mean, I went after the show when it was empty and just to look around. But when the band was there, never allowed. And never asked either. I mean, those things I don't like to ask because it seems like you're pushing.
Yeah.
Those are the things that if they invite you, fantastic. Once actually in the Out in the Shade tour, Bruce took me up on the tour bus because Out in the Shade traveling on a bus, and he showed me around the tour bus where they were sleeping, where they were having the sitting around the table, things like that. So that was nice. But I was invited.
Yeah.
Dressing room, I leave it as I like to always keep some special surprise for the end, because otherwise, if you do everything, then there's nothing more to look forward to. It's a bit like, and unfortunately, in New York, the Twin Towers that, got bombed or whatever, the planes. And there was one thing that whenever I was in New York, I always say, well, I'll visit that another time. I'll go to the top. This time, so I was going once to the Empire State Building, one the Statue of Liberty, one here, one there. Every even if I was staying many days, I would only see one thing, because I said, so every time I go to New York, there's always something new that I haven't seen. So I left those too long, and I never got to go up. But anyway, and so yeah, I like to leave things, as something special to do eventually at one point. So yeah, and and backstage with the girls, as you were saying, at the end it wasn't that big of a deal, because they in videos they show like there were a lot of girls here and there, but in reality there was the three. They were always them, and plus sometimes at some shows they would get local strippers, and they would choose more. So the three basic ones that were always at all the shows, or for a long part of the show, and then there was other local ones. That could be. Yeah, there was, sometimes it was interesting, the selection of things, the line of girls and stuff. It was something unusual for a Kiss tour that was interesting, but no big deal. When you're there, you only see boys and four boys, and with everything else.
You don't care about the strippers.
No. Not at the concert. The second, third, fourth priority.
Did you manage to speak a lot to the band members during that tour?
The Revenge tour in the States, a little bit, but not out of the ordinary that I would remember in a specific way.
No.
One thing that was always for me hard to do was interviews, because I did one in Belfast. Oh, that was another thing that I didn't mention. So many things I didn't mention because I forgot, but comes in mind. In Belfast was a special show for me. Besides of the guitar, it was also because it was the only place where I did a personal interview with each of them in a backstage. And I remember I had the actual planned interview on the schedule. I was on the schedule, which it never really happened. Most times I would ask things, but they would never. I mean, it could be sometimes that I kept asking, "Can I have an interview? Can I have an interview?" And when they had like a bit of free time, they might have said yes, and it was a lucky shot, and I got an interview. But unfortunately, with all the tours, there was no such thing as me booked for an interview on each tour that I went.
No.
So that's a bit of a regret. not that I didn't ask or I didn't try. It's just they didn't consider, fans in the best way to promote themselves. I mean, they were doing always interview with magazine and things, but Striker, they always, and even if it was one of the biggest one, if not the biggest, still, fan clubs, they never really, spent too much time on it. They were happy that the fan clubs were around, but not too much to spend their time and give priority to us. So unlike probably people might think, I was always trying to get something. Like I would go with the letterhead paper to have them write a message to the fan club.
Yeah.
But it's not like you go ask. It was always trying to find the right moment when I don't bother. It was hard. I don't know if they made it hard, so then when you get it, you're happy or whatever.
It could be.
I never had an easy life with everything. Photos, as I say, I had to sneak in the show with the camera. Luckily, obviously, with a laminate, it's easy to sneak a camera.
Was it easy to film on that tour?
On that tour, I don't even remember if I filmed something on that tour.
I think the first show I saw was Cedar Rapids, and I think you filmed that one, didn't you?
Cedar Rapids I filmed, right. Yeah. Yes. It wasn't even too bad. Yeah, probably one or two at least I would always film.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes if I got a really good one at the start, maybe I would do just one more. Or if I didn't get a good one, then I would film more until I had a good enough one. Yeah, you're right. I forget a lot of things. I should have made my homework.
But at the same time, you met Peter for the first time. How was that?
Yeah. Peter was great. I was lucky there because besides the fact that the fan club was already up and running for a long time, I met Lydia Criss at one of the Kiss convention.
Yeah.
Because in '92, I think I did the first Kiss convention in America. Because in the year '92, I went to the first Kiss convention, and I met Lydia. Yeah. I think. Let me double check with my memory, or maybe I just met. I met Lydia anyway just before the show.
She was in London. She was in London also, wasn't she?
Sorry.
She was in London also, wasn't she?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. She was in London. You're right. Exactly. That was in May '92.
Yeah.
So actually, I probably, if I'm not wrong, I probably would have gone to the convention in April, because usually they were in April, the New York Kiss convention. So I probably went to the New York Kiss convention, and I met her. Then I saw her again in May because I went again for Peter and the Kiss Club tour, and so I already knew Lydia by then, and so she actually introduced me to Peter. We went backstage.
Now I think
You see also them relating to, because they look like good old friends. There was no bad feelings. Even Peter didn't feel embarrassed because of the past situation. It was a nice thing to see them chatting, and so that's where the first time I saw them. Oh, there's a funny story about filming from the UK tour. Because I filmed Whitley Bay. I don't know if you see.
I remember that one.
Because it's filmed from the side. So when they were coming on the side of the stage, I had half, like a half body in the frame. So it was pretty good, the framing, and I filmed the show. At the end, Sorry, I silenced the phone again.
Right.
At the end of the... I had to do it before, but whatever. Okay, at the end of that concert, we went back at the hotel, and we were at the same hotel as Kiss.
Yeah.
I don't know why, because I don't usually. Either I went there to wait for them, and I went to Eric's room or something. But I remember for sure that Eric asked me, "Oh, did you film last night?" And I was like, "Yeah," because at one point I kind of posed. I say like, "Well, is that a tricky question? Do they want to see if I'm to them or if I'm really filming this?" So I didn't like to lie to them. I don't think I ever did. Almost probably, yeah. No, especially on the main things, I wouldn't lie to them. And like in general, I might have lied for little stupid things, but not for major things like this one. And so then Eric asked me, "Oh, did you film last night?" I say, yeah. How did it come out the show? Yeah, it was pretty good. Let me see it. I was like, "Well, I have the tape, but come on." And so we plugged in the camera in the TV of his room.
Yeah.
And we were starting watching the show. And the door was open of the room. I was like, Eric, can we close the door? Because I knew that the other guys of the band were on the same corridor. And I'm thinking, okay, let's try and keep within less people possible. So then I said, no, I like the air coming in. I said, okay. Then he started putting the volume up. And I'm thinking, oh my God, now everybody probably hear it. And all of a sudden, Gene walks in. It was like, So basically, he walked in and said, "What you watching?" And it's like, one of the shows. Oh, that's one of these tours. I said, yeah. And then he looked right away and was like, "You filmed it, right?" I said, yeah. And it was funny because he was just next to me. He was like, "Okay, let me see." Okay, then he was like, once in a while when we were watching, I was like, "Oh, that's Nico, very good filming. Paul is singing and you are pointing the camera to me. Very good." And I was like, Gene, it's not easy because you got security and you have to be careful. So I was explaining to him how it was to make bootleg of his concert. So that was a funny thing. So yeah, but they knew already that I was bootlegging shows. So yeah, one thing is knowing, one thing is watching it right away, right there with them. But there was a funny thing. But funny thing would happen, especially on that tour in Birmingham. We were, and this time we were at the same hotel as Kiss, but we were sharing. Not even sharing. We were trying to sleep in somebody else's room and sleeping on the carpet. Try to be on the cheap, as I was saying before. And so all of a sudden there was me and Barbara. Barbara Caserta. Everybody knows her as well. Yeah. And so we were in the room. But it wasn't our room. We were just there, and we were actually. I think we went there to wash our clothes as well. We wanted to sleep, but all of a sudden, I arrived a phone call in the room, and I pick up the phone, and it was like, "Excuse me, we find out that you are sleeping in 4 people in a 2-bedroom room. You gotta come down." At the reception immediately. It's not supposed to be done like that. It's not possible. And no, so I told Barbara, they figured out we were sleeping in the same room. We're in trouble. We gotta come down. Oh, we got the clothes. We were collecting all the clothes. They were already still wet. Then we just hang, then put it all in a pack. In less than 5 minutes, we were already in the elevator, all rushed and afraid. We arrived at the bottom floor, and he opened the door of the elevator, and I see Eric and Bruce.
Yeah.
Well, first thought was like, oh, that's a lucky thing, you open the elevator, you see Eric and Bruce in front of you. Then they started laughing, and I'm thinking, why are they laughing? What's so funny? And all of a sudden it comes to mind, oh my God. I said, you made the phone call. So they actually thought that we were doing this, and they made this phone call just.
So you didn't recognize their voice?
No. I don't know if they made it fake or because my English, wasn't too perfect. I started. 92 was only 4 years that I started to speak English a little better, but because from school in Italy you don't get much of knowledge in English.
You don't?
So no, not really. When I did the Crazy Nights tour, I was lucky because I was traveling with Dan Starr from America. Mm-hmm. So then I was forced to speak English because he didn't know Italian. And he would, having to have a conversation with him for a full month, he helped me a lot with the English. Plus, because he was from California, he knew some Spanish.
Yeah.
So, and I didn't know some words and he couldn't explain it too well, he would find a Spanish word that would be similar to Italian. So we would be able to come. And so that was my first time that I could speak. In fact, I don't know if there is around the interview from Belfast '88. When I listen again, I can hear myself, speaking very bad English. And I still remember now that I had my questions ready because it was a planned interview. And when I was doing the interview, I was just reading the question, and they would talk back to me, but I wouldn't understand what they were saying. Mm-hmm. I say, I'll tape it. At home, with relax, I will listen over and over and figure out what they say. So they were answering me. I was like, yeah, yes. But my English was so bad that I could only say something, but it was very hard to understand what people were saying. So in '92, I must say probably that my English wasn't that much improved. And so I didn't realize it was them on the phone. It was a perfect joke.
But you also did the Aces Just for Fun tour, right?
Yes. I went. That was still in '92, right? Yeah. So Seaside Heights. I remember from the tour. One great memory was this place that was terrible. It was Seaside Heights. It was just a motel. The club, it was a club on the beach, let's say. And there was no backstage. It was such a small club that there was no backstage. And Ace, instead of having a backstage room, had a room in a motel across the street from the venue. And so basically, he had to get ready there, and after the show, he made like a little party there. At the show was great because there was Sebastian Bach from Skid Row, and he actually also sang Strator with Ace on stage. And then after the show, I was invited in the room, and we kind of like had some after party.
Yeah,
that was pretty fun.
But that was the first time you met him, like
Ace, I met him in '88.
But to really talk to him, or did you do that in '88 also?
No, in '88 I already was able to talk to him. I remember after the show we went at the hotel, and we were like talking about the show, and it was really really cool. Yeah, no. So there I already knew him.
Yeah.
And what I was saying. Oh,
the party in the hotel room.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The one thing I was saying is that at the beginning it felt really kind of bad because you see Kiss in big venues and then Ace in a cheap motel room. I remember at the time somebody told me that they were paying him like $1,500 US for the whole band and him to perform. So I'm thinking like it's probably putting in his pocket $500, which is like, that's still Ace Frehley, a millionaire until not too long ago, and now he had to just play for little money in cheap places. It felt like it felt bad because with Peter didn't feel that bad because I saw him at the Ritz, and the Ritz is a nice club in New York, and I saw also in another club, I think it was in New Haven, and around New York anyway. But they were, decent places, small clubs, but decent. The Ace one, especially that show, really felt like he's accepting even this kind of situation, and that was a bit bad. But another one funny story, but there was, I think it was a year after, probably '93, at the Toronto convention. I think he was a guest, and there was also Lydia there as well as a guest at the convention. And as Ace and Lydia were, very good friends from the old days.
Yeah.
I remember. We went after the convention. We went to a club with Ace, and we went with a limousine. And I was allowed in the limousine. It was me, Lydia, Ace, and a couple of other friends in this big limo. And it was funny because he was putting up. He had tapes, and Lydia told me that there was something he would normally do. He had tapes of stand-up comedians. And so he would just ask the driver to put on these tapes, and basically he would put on the tape they probably heard a lot of times before, and he started cracking, laughing, every joke, and it was, it was funny thing that he would go around with these stand-up comedian tapes and just put them on and just laughing for a second. It's funny. And that night we went at this club in Toronto, and somebody recognized him in the crowd, and they actually invited him on stage to play a couple of songs, and he did.
Cool.
So that was special. There was I don't know, but you can check the date somewhere. I probably would have write the story in Strike anyway. But it was, I think it was '93 in Toronto.
Was that at the same time you went to the Foundation Forum, or?
No, that would be probably after that.
Okay.
Because I think it was around the end of the year.
Okay.
What can you tell us about the Foundation Forum experience?
Well, the Foundation Forum was, unfortunately, on that year, there was no actual tour planned. So I'm thinking, well, better than nothing. Let's go for one show. And I never seen LA, so I thought, I'll make like an holiday. I'll see one show. A special show was supposed to be, and I'll visit the city. So, I went to the press conference. There was Kiss and there was Scorpions. The show was cool because you see them in a small stage. And plus, Paul was wearing jeans on stage, not stage clothes. So it was a bit of a different way of seeing the band.
Yeah.
And a little, it felt like a little club anyway. It felt like a smaller venue than a normal show. So it was interesting the way they were, the way the concert was. But no particular, nothing too special to remember about it, except that it was a unique show.
Amazing set list compared to the time.
Yes, the set list was fantastic because they played the songs they didn't play before, or from the past. It was unusual. And
they did a signing as well, didn't they?
I think so. I remember clearly the press conference.
Yeah, when Eric was pointing to you. You remember that? It's like, you're filming, you're bootlegging, or what is that?
Yeah.
I don't remember specifically from there, because he was always trying to give me hard times. He was always joking on me, or
I just remember that because I was laughing so hard when I saw it the first time. So.
No, with Eric it's always been fun. I was spending a lot of time with Eric at the time, and and Bruce as well. Bruce I never really mentioned so far, but just because he's more, he's not a troublemaker. He's more of a professional guitarist. He's more of a serious person. But except for the joke in Birmingham. I don't know yet. I still don't know who came up with the idea, even though I'm pretty sure that was Eric. That's his signature style. but Bruce also is one of the the members I go closer more as a friend, on a friend level, because the original four have always been kind of distance. To talk to the original, you always had to go through asking the secretary or writing to the office, tell somebody to tell them, and then they would answer, and the answer would go back to me. It was not really a direct thing to instead, with Bruce and Eric, I was able to send them emails and get in touch directly. Yeah. So with them, and even Eric Carr at the time. So everybody who was a new member, I would always have more like a relationship not on the same level, but not as the gods and and it was more more because in a way, one way or another, they always been people who work for them.
Yeah.
They're band members, but in reality, a lot of times, even Eric was telling me things when I say, when do you know about this? I don't know anything. They just call me, okay, we're leaving for Australia in 2 weeks, get ready. Or, they don't plan anything with them. They just let them know things, even at the last minute. And sometimes he will find out things through the media. Yeah. Oh, he's doing this. Oh, we're doing this. Okay, now I know. So
if we jump 1 year into the future, it's 1994, and it's the Peter Criss convention tour.
Yes.
Do you hear the fan in the background here?
No.
No. Okay, then it's fine.
Okay.
How involved were you in the Peter Criss convention tour?
No, I was involved not much more than all the other dealers.
Okay.
Except for Milan. Milan, I was the promoter of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's where I lost money.
Because otherwise Gerhard was organizing the whole tour.
Yeah, Gerhard was organizing the whole tour, and he would get a local promoter in each city. So each local promoter would help him for that specific concert. Help him in maybe go pick up Peter from the airport, or take him out to dinner, or show him around the city. And so each promoter also one benefit of the promoter was this. I remember there was Bjorn from Copenhagen that sometimes that sometimes he was a promoter of these shows, not caring about the profit or the loss making. It was more to have the privilege of being in a position it would be 1-to-1 with Ace or Peter, or so that, I mean, Gerard in that case would have an easy life because he would just leave the star, leave Peter in the hands of the local promoter, so he would be more free to organize every other thing and start planning. And the promoter was very happy to be taking care of Peter. Yeah. I mean, in Milan after the show, I took him to a nice restaurant with all my friends. We made like a huge table, like 20 people. I remember he was drinking whiskey with the dinner, just
with the dinner.
With dinner, whiskey. It's like instead of water or wine or whatever, he was drinking whiskey normally, like if I would drink water. So that's a weird thing, but it was funny. I mean, when we were going around Milan, because he was late, but we still took him, showing him around to the big church in Milan, the Duomo. Yeah. And I remember when we were going in 2 or 3 cars, and when we were driving, at one point Peter showed the full moon, basically, put his on the window. They would do crazy things like that. You see, that's when we go back to the original 4. They were, special people. I mean, really rock stars. Yeah. They had in their blood. It's not that because they were on stage with guitars or drums. They were just, rock stars in the blood, and they still are. Yeah. Especially Ace and Peter. So he would do crazy things. I mean, for example, like Bruce, Eric Carr. They mostly told me they're professional people. I mean, the people who join the band now, it's professional people that prove that they could be punctual, very knowledgeable of the instruments, who can rely on their job as a professional. But they lack the craziness of a rock star, which only the 4 original ones had. Yeah. And I understand that it's much easier to work with Tommy or Bruce or Eric, which you tell them at this time, show up, do this and do that, and perfect. You don't have any problem. Yeah. Instead of Ace, show up, you have to have a bodyguard just for him to make sure that he wakes up, that he gets ready, like babysitting them. Not because, you need to babysit them, not because they're stupid, just because they don't care, because they want to live their life as a rock star. Yeah. But attitude is what create Kiss. Yeah. I think Kiss is the music, but also the attitude of the 4 original members. Because nowadays we see Paul and Gene more professional, money-orientated and everything. But at the beginning, they didn't even realize they were going to make this much money. No. They wanted, Gene wanted Gertz, Paul wanted to be famous. He didn't. Money comes with fame, obviously, but I'm sure that Paul was more caring about being famous than having money in his pocket, a lot of money in his pocket. So the original guys were more like hungry for success. They want to be famous rock stars. They wanted to live the life of a rock and roller and be able to survive with that, not just to play in a club at night and then the next day going to the factory to work. So they wanted to live the life as a rock star, and including everything, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Then, one more one thing, one more another. But in general, the 4 of them were like just having fun with everything was thrown at them. Instead, the new ones are professional person, like, there's no craziness about it.
No.
Which if you want things perfect is good. If you want crazy, they lack a little bit.
But,
Eric,
what was the Peter convention tour easier than the one with Ace the year afterwards?
Okay, well, Peter was fairly easy.
Yeah.
Because you were traveling around with that bus, right?
Yeah, we on the bus. We had him on the bus. So Peter is easygoing. Sometimes Peter is pictured as a troublemaker, as this and that. But in reality, Peter, he can sleep on the floor if he can. He's not one that it's picky. I want this, I want that, air condition here. It's more easygoing than you would imagine.
Yeah.
I can imagine because he was from the Bronx. His background was so poor or rough that he doesn't really care if you got luxury or not. So it was very easygoing. It wasn't creating any trouble to anybody, to Gerard or nobody else. No. And it was just having fun. A lot of time it just was, maybe he wanted to drink or smoke or do things just for fun. He wanted to enjoy himself. He wasn't even caring if he was selling things or mostly he was caring about was enjoying himself.
Did he have a manager at the time?
Well, there wasn't a manager, but it was Stephen Campbell, the guy from Toronto. Yeah. I don't know if you know him. Stephen Campbell was the guy who organized the Kiss convention in Toronto.
Yeah.
And so he got to know him because of the few conventions we did. And so I don't know if he offered volunteer or Peter asked him, whatever, but he was the one who was going around with Peter to all the places and, being the assistant more than anything else.
But not in the same way as Suit was with Ace.
No. It was more just an assistant, I would say. Or somebody, if you need something, is there to help you. And I don't know if he would help me also with money or with other things, but why not? If people asked, he was there. And I remember that after the tour, Peter gave me his drum kit from '77, from that behind you, the tour there, the '77 tour. Because I went to see him at his place in Toronto, and I saw the actual drum kit. I was like, oh my God, this is the original drum kit from the Love Gun. And he said, yeah, well, Peter, after the convention tour, sold it to me for very, very cheap money. I think it's just over 10,000, something like that. But the original drum kit was pretty cool. The strange thing of that drum kit is that I always thought it was kind of black, but it wasn't. Even if I saw a lot of photos, I didn't realize that it was stripes, gold and black. Mm. If you look, pay attention to the actual photo close up, you like. There's sometimes it looks like it was a spotlight on a black drum to make the color on the side, and then it's actually, if you see it from closely, it's got stripes, golden stripes on the black drum kit. Cool. So that was cool. And so, Peter, one thing that was cool is that when he did the convention in Milan, it was the first place where he did a drum solo.
Yeah.
And at the end, he actually, I did it for a surprise for you, and that was super cool. I even gave him like a tip at the end, and he was so happy. But he did it before a tip. I gave him as a gift, even if I lost money on that one. I thought, when it's Peter Criss in Milan, there's going to be people all over. Instead, the problem was it was in August, and I didn't realize that in August everybody in Italy goes to holiday. And I know that, but I'm thinking, okay, normally you go no, but there's Peter Criss. You would just cancel everything for Peter Criss, the original. Instead, unfortunately, people enjoy more the holidays. And so I ended up with probably the biggest loss of all the investment I did. But, who cares, at the end. So only money.
I never understood why they didn't do more in Scandinavia.
Yeah, it was only Copenhagen. And I think that one came up quite late as well, what I can remember.
I don't really know what Gerard would do, but I don't really know, because I think he was just contacting local fans like me. Maybe he didn't have somebody there that could or wanted to invest those money and find a club, because he wasn't going to local club and sell Peter. He wasn't something like that. He was more like he was contacting diehard Kiss fans, because he would know, because he had a mailing list, so the one who was spending more, and he would ask them. So I'm sure that he asked Nicolas or Ricard, but probably they didn't want to be involved. Okay. I mean, if it was just for money, I lost money in that case. I don't think even if it was full of people, I would have made that much money. Because I remember it cost me like $5,000, which was a lot of money. If you try and recoup that with $10 ticket, you gotta have a big crowd, which is not common. So maybe not everybody had that kind of money to invest.
No.
So as he didn't find anybody, that's probably why there was no convention.
But I think
was the first one, because maybe the next tour, maybe people ask around and say, "Oh, you made money. Oh, then I want to do it too." And so next tour is probably a different story. But at the beginning, it was a big risk from whoever.
The next thing you did, you went to Australia, didn't you?
Yeah, there was a big change in my life. In many ways. The funny thing is that I really wanted to go to Japan in '95. Because I was a lot more curious on the Japanese culture than the Australian. Just because the Australian looked to me very much like America, not much different. Instead, Japan was like a different planet. So I really was hoping to visit Japan. So I thought I would do the Japanese tour. But then Udo, the promoter, told them that they couldn't organize the conventions there, the official conventions, and so then they decided to tour Japan, but without doing conventions. And at this point, I said, well, I'll go another time to Japan, because if I see a tour that one day they do convention, the next day they do a show, not only I can sell merchandise, because we were allowed by Kiss to sell merchandise, because they also wanted to have lots of dealers at the convention, not just them with the display and them playing unplugged. They actually wanted to feel like the American conventions with dealers. I mean, we were not allowed to sell bootleg stuff, even though we did anyway. But there was, I don't know if you're getting me. No, but Tommy was in charge. Tommy Spiro were in charge to check if somebody was selling bootleg merchandise. So Tommy, would come and go, hey, you're not really supposed to, put them a bit on the side, hide them. And I didn't see anything, But he's going to tell him, oh, you were supposed to say no. No, but he mostly said no, just, on some items he wasn't too hard on. And some others said, no, you cannot really have those. So, but we were allowed to have the merchandise, so that was cool. And so I was saying it was good that I could sell, and so I could get some money back or make a profit from the tour. It's the first time that I go to a Kiss tour and make more money, come back with more money than I left. I usually were making money after come back from the tour, selling the merchandise that I bought or the photos or the videos. But in Australia, it was the first time that I go back with more money than I actually left because I was selling stuff. But besides the money thing, obviously the choice was easy because the convention tour means also that they were doing unplugged concert and then venue concert. So you see two types of show every second day, and it was a lot better than Japan. There was only the normal show. So forget about the money situation. It's especially because of the tour itself was a better tour. I went to Australia, and there, yes, a nice episode on the tour. A funny thing, I remember some funny. There was one show that Eric was in Melbourne actually, where I ended up living. There was Eric with the anchor when they come back and they bowed. He came with a bucket full of water and he wanted to throw it on me because I was in the pit taking photos. So he came with this bucket and he was about to throw it at me. And because I had the camera, I was able to. I showed the cameras to Eric and I was like, no, please let me put them down. So I showed him that I was gonna put them down. So then to give me just some time not to wet the cameras. Yeah. So then I put the cameras down. I put my arms up, open for him. So then when he was sure that I wouldn't, run away and I would be an easy target, he was relaxed. He lifted the bucket. As soon as he was pouring the water, I moved away. And I was like, you. So I didn't get the water at the end. He was gonna get me if I didn't find the trick with the cameras. so that was one of the thing I remember from those shows. And other things, nothing too special except for the fact that the Australian fans were very much into the shows, much more than the normal crowds. And I was surprised how big venues they were playing and filling up and playing 2 nights. So that was good. I mean, it was good feeling also to be in a place where in the mass tour they were like everywhere. And so it was a special country to visit.
It must have been amazing seeing all the convention shows for the first time. It's like,
yeah, and also one thing in Perth when we arrived, it was funny. It was cool for me because the press conference and Jim was showing his magazines to the journalists. And they will say, and we have here all the way from Italy, Nicola Ciccarone with the Stripe magazine who flew 50 hours. I think I flew something like this. I had to stop and change many planes to get there because I was flying cheap. I was the bottom line of all this. Everything. Whenever I could save money is a good thing. And so then Gino was like introducing me to the press, publicly. And I actually even ended up in the news. In fact, if you see some video clippings from the time, I was interviewed in some TV news, which is something just in Australia.
Cool.
And but it was good. And with the talking about Gene with the strike and other magazine, one funny thing, one interesting thing was that I know for a fact that Jim, whenever he was going to merchandise meeting, when he would sell, the rights to produce a Kiss item, he would. I was told that he would just open his briefcase and pull out all the magazine, all the fanzine, and especially Strikers was the nicest one, and lots of pages with merchandise, and he would show to the people who had to make deals with. You see if you if you buy the rights, see how fans buy all this stuff, So basically, he was using our fanzines to kind of sell better his licensing. So that was an interesting, cool thing. When I found out. Okay. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention about the European tour of the convention with Peter Criss is that in Prague it was a very special day for me because we had a day off, and not many day off we had in that tour. And in that day off, Peter asked me if I knew the city, and as I've been a couple of times to Prague before that time, I said, yeah, I know Prague pretty well, so if you want, I can show you around. And I was, oh, fantastic, yes. So we basically visited the whole city. It was me, Peter Criss, and Joe Marshall. Joe Marshall is the photographer from Detroit. And basically, we spent the whole day walking around, visiting the castle. And one special thing was, it was very interesting, was the dinner. We had a dinner on one of those boats on the river. And while we were having dinner, Peter would say, no, Nico, you will see one day we will get back together with the original members, and we will be putting the makeup back on, and we will be once again the biggest band in the world. And I'm looking at him and I'm like, yeah. Like, not even 1 second that this could possibly happen, because I'm pretty sure I had a feeling that they were gonna be reunited, and even with the makeup could be a possible chance, if people would pay them enough. But from there to become again the biggest band in the world, that is not up to a manager who's willing to pay for them to reunite. No. That is the people who's got to decide who's the best. So at that point, I'm like, yeah, well, yeah, sure. But I would have bet like $1,000 on that it would never be possible, something like that. And after a couple of years only, in '96, when I realized it was right, I was like, I can't believe it. He was broke. He had no, he was playing that it wasn't too at the level that he was playing when in the 70s. So I was thinking it will be already hard for them to play together in a reasonable, good level to justify a tour. From there to think the best in the world, that would be really hard. But he was right. And that time I totally misjudged the situation. He was right. And they did. And one other funny thing is that he went at the Hard Rock Cafe in Berlin on the tour. And he didn't want to pay for a dinner because he figured out, I'm Peter Criss, this is Hard Rock Cafe. So at one point, he actually offered at the cashier there at the register, he offered the drumstick, and he said, look, I'm Peter Criss, I can give you the drumstick, I'll sign them for you, you can put them on the wall. And the guy was like, just pay the bill. So, that was bad because but this is I didn't say just to make fun because he's laughing, not because because in his mind, he really felt for him that it was just a matter of time that he was back with the band and he was still the greatest and he was still top. So that was the funny thing, because nobody else believed in it except themselves. So I said the story not to laugh on him, but just to to make people realize how convinced he was of the reunion tour. So yeah, okay. So that was just because I forgot before.
So yeah. How was the Ace tour then? A lot more. I don't know.
The Ace, the one we were talking before, the one with Sebastian Bach. Oh no, the Ace convention tour.
Yeah, in '95. Yeah.
Okay.
95.
Ace was a bit different than Peter, because Ace kept more the distance from the dealers.
Okay.
And he wasn't even traveling with us. If I remember, no, he wasn't traveling with us. He was flying into the different cities, and so basically he had a good relationship with only the local promoters.
Okay.
But we didn't have the same experiences with Peter, because Peter would be on the bus. He had I remember a curtain to block his seat so he can have his own privacy. But once in a while we show up, he will come out, talk, you stop at the gas station and you chat. So with Peter was more like one of us. He was one of the circus. Ace instead kept it as I'm the rock star and you are the dealers. He kept the distance. So it wasn't as fun as with Peter, but during the actual convention, that it was cool. But yeah, Ace definitely kept it more private than Peter would. Peter would really do a lot more things with people, going out, clubbing, and try and do funny things. Ace was more on his own, so it wasn't as good. And I didn't organize anything in Italy, probably because I lost a lot of money with Peter the year before. The closest, I think, it was in Switzerland. They did one convention. I don't think. No, I don't think it was. There was no convention, because I figured out. I mean, it was money, okay, but also the thing is that when I organized Peter, I thought there was a lot of people coming. I'd make a big Kiss convention in Milan, nice. At the end, if there is a little people, the promoter lose money. Then they look, that's a crowd in Italy. So it's disappointing for everybody in all points of view. It's not just the fact of the money. So then, because I saw that people didn't really care of the original member as much as I thought they would, because I did. So then I said, okay, whatever, I won't do it again. So I didn't do that, and I didn't do Vini either the year after.
No.
So yeah.
But after the Ace tour, you went over to the States. Did you see any of the convention shows in the States, or was it only the Unplugged?
The convention of the American.
Yeah.
Kiss American conventions. Yes. Because in fact it was a strange period, because because I think the Kiss tour with the convention were at the same time as Ace or something like that.
Okay, yeah.
There was something that I remember I had to make a choice to do, but no, maybe it was the Vinnie Vincent, because. Let me check the. No, it's 95. It was Ace.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, So I remember I did all the ones of Ace, and then I went right away to the States to see the convention tour. So I missed a few. I missed the beginning. In fact, now that I remember, for me, it was a pity missing conventions, because one thing is if you see the tour and it costs money, and so I used to see about 10 shows every tour to collect the stuff that I needed for the magazine and for the merchandise. But if you do more than 10 shows is more for pleasure than for collecting useful thing for the fan club.
Yeah.
So that's why I didn't do more than 10, because once I got the stuff, the rest is only spending money that I could use in a better way. Instead, the convention, because I was selling stuff and I was making money, then if I did the whole tour, I was happier, because every night I was making money.
Yeah.
And so I remember it was a pity that there was the same dates with Ace and Kiss, because I had to miss some of the American convention and lose money in a way. But also, unfortunately, I missed the one that Peter was invited
in LA. Yeah,
the first one.
Exactly. And one thing that I did, I don't know how many I did, but probably around there, same thing, probably around 5-10 of that. And I remember at the one at the New York, the one at the Roseland Theater, and that was supposed to be my last convention, because I had to go back to Italy. But at one point, Eric Singer told me, "Don't leave, stay for MTV." And I'm like, "Yeah, but I've already been to many of these conventions. MTV is just going to be an unplugged show, but I've seen many. Of course, it's nice. It's going to be on TV. It'll be good also, to be in another of the official video inside the crowd of things. But I said, I have appointments in Italy, things that I had to do, and I booked my flight and everything. I didn't want to change for just MTV." And he told me, "Cancel the flight, don't go. You don't want to miss MTV." And I'm like, I realized, obviously, because I realized that Peter was invited in the West Coast, and I thought Ace was going to be the guest. And I'm thinking, well, I thought about it, Eric, but I know that probably Ace is going to come up and sing and play one song with the band, and unfortunately, as much as I wanted to stay for Ace, but for one song extra, I got at the time I had many things planned for that week that I was supposed to come back, and so I say I've been so many days already away from home. And I had too many things to deal with. Really, even if Ace comes for a song, I really had to go. And Eric looked at me again and was like, "Don't go." And then when he said it again, then I realized, because I also said that because I want him to tell me something more. I said, I cannot say anything, but I still believe you cannot go. You will regret it for the rest of your life. And I was like, then at that point I thought, this must be something bigger than Ace showing up. And I said, okay, maybe it'll be the 4 original, because if he insisting so much, only something like that could be the case. And I canceled my flight. I couldn't, at that point, it was too much, and I had to make so many calls in Italy and change and rearrange things. But then when the more I was staying there, it was the news that the original guys were gonna get together, And so we started going to the SIR studios in New York. That's where they did all the rehearsal for the. So in the week, I think it was 1 week, something like that, between the last concert and MTV Unplugged. And in that week, they were going to rehearse with Peter and Ace at the SIR. And and we were always about 10 people outside the studios, waiting for them to arrive, to leave, get some news. At one point, one manager asked me, say, "Oh, Nico, so you're a photographer, right?" I'm like, yeah. I mean, I wasn't really a photographer, to be honest, I must admit. At the time, I could take really great photos live.
Yeah.
But I had my set ways to shoot. I always use the 400 ESA films, and I would put the camera on shooting priority of 1/90th of a second. And for Kiss, that was the best setting. I tried to lowering the timing or changing the film, but at the end I realized after a few shows that the best was always 400 ASA Kodak and time priority 1/90th of a second, and so semi-automatic. So I would shoot concert perfect, because that was the perfect setting for a Kiss concert with that light, because Kiss concerts are fairly bright compared to others. So for a Kiss show, that was the perfect setting, and I would never try and experiment any other thing. I would just use always that. So for years, all the years that I shot, pretty much my camera was always set in that way, and I never really used the flash, because you don't use flash live, because you kill the lights and it's terrible. Only Circus magazine was using photos live with the flash. I cannot believe that they let them do things like this. I mean, from a photography point of view, it's the worst thing you could do.
Yeah.
So I never really used a flash, even though I bought one, but it was just collecting dust, and because it was never the chance for me in backstage to take photos. Very rarely I took some photos backstage, because I didn't want to be kicked out. And every time they would see me pulling out the camera backstage, it was looking funny. And so I just put it back away, because, I didn't want to upset them. So the flash, basically, I never really used. And most of the photos I was taking was always live photos, never backstage, or not many. There's a few, that I used as well, published, but it was always some occasion where maybe there were other fans in backstage taking photos, so then I would join them, and then, one more, one less shooting. But when I was on my own, I was the only one that I could take photos, then I never really got the camera. So I didn't consider myself a professional photographer. Professional is a photographer who can handle any situation, with any sorts of light, any sorts of type of shooting. So, but the manager told me, like, "Oh, you're professional?" "Oh, yeah, I'm a professional photographer." And he said, "No, because we need a professional photographer to take photos during the rehearsals." And I was like, "Oh." And he was like, "Oh, yes, sure." So I had my flash back at the hotel room, because I never really used it. I didn't even bring it along. I just left it in the room. And so the manager told me, "Yeah, if you can tell." I said, "Well, I got some equipment in the room. I'll bring back." So I went to the room, to the hotel. I go back to the outside the studio. And then I arrived Gene. And Gene was told that I was going to be the photographer to shoot the photos, the professional photos for them. And Gene arrived to me and was like, "Well, Nico, I'm not sure if you will be taking the photos, because this is a very special situation. In this situation, I wouldn't even trust my mother." And I said, "Gene, you can body search me. I'll count the film. I'll give you the same film." I didn't really care of, hiding things. I mean, just the fact to be in their room while they were rehearsing was like major. Plus, if the photos I would give it to them, I would have seen them anyway, one day or another, for them publishing them. Yeah. So I was happy no matter what, even if. And I said, look, you know, everything I will shoot, I will give everything. You can search me. I will just, you know, you don't have to worry. And Gene said, oh, well, you know, we'll see. I'll have to talk to Paul and we'll see if you should. But I realized that, you know, I didn't really trust me. So then when Paul arrived, I was like, you know, keep my finger crossed. And then Gene went on and say, or maybe just the manager, you know, say, oh, they spoke and they, you know, they say they prefer to get somebody else. And I was like, yeah. That was a huge letdown. I was like, yeah, okay, that's how much they trust me. But on the other hand, I was always the guy bootlegging concert and taking photos from the crowd without their permission. So I must admit that they didn't have. Yeah, in that case, obviously, I would never let them down. But I must admit that, you know, if I was them, I probably would have done the same thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, the show, I'm in the crowd, you see in MTV. I was in front of Bruce at third row. So the show was fantastic. I lost my voice. Yeah. The MTV was so amazing. I couldn't believe to see the four guys in front of me for the first time. I shouted like so much. I totally lost my voice. And I was like in heaven. That was one of the mighty shows of my life. You know, they won the Detroit 1982 of the Alive 3. There's a few concerts that for me were like, you know, top, and definitely MTV Unplugged is one of them. Amazing experience.
Most of us would have killed to be there, so it's like
I know, but even there was a lot of people. In those days, it was very, you know, to try and get the invitations, because there were no ticket sale. It was all upon invitation, and everybody was afraid not being in the list, and everybody was calling and saying, "Oh, can you get me a ticket? Can you get these?" Everybody was trying to do all possible things to actually be in their room. It was a very stressful period. Luckily, I was fairly relaxed because because of my position at that time. Was probably the best fan club in the world, and so, you know, I had no problem of getting in. But other friends, they were like just major Kiss fans. Yeah. They were not sure. But at the end, I remember that pretty much everybody wanted to get in, got in. There were like probably 4 or 5 that at the end stayed outside with like pocket full of money, ready to spend and buy a ticket. At the end, I remember they just let everybody in, but everybody not. It was less than a handful, and they just let them on the corridor. They could see the show, but so everybody was it.
When you watch MTV Unplugged, it's really hard to tell how much people was there in the studio.
Oh,
do you know how many people were there in the studio?
I think around 500.
Okay, 500.
I think something like that, because I remember there were probably around 10 rows in the front, 10, 15 rows. And then there were people all around. Yeah. And but I think between 300 and 500. That's probably, so not a huge crowd, but still the diehard made it. At least most of them. Yeah. For sure, everybody that I knew was a diehard who actually flew in even without a ticket, but just hoping. So they kind of show themselves, spoke with Eric or Bruce, made the phone calls and the right people. And everybody really were committed to make it. They ended up getting inside. And some other people that say, oh, if I'm not sure if I get in, I'm not going to fly to New York in case I don't. Those ones in doubt, they missed out. But I'm sure that if they would have taken the risk at the end, they would have found a way. Because, I'm sure there was room, and the guys were not too, to German about it. German is precise.
Did you understand that it would be a reunion when after the Unplugged?
Oh, at the time it was.
Did you understand it at the time?
You mean? I'm thinking. I think so.
Yeah.
I think so in a way, but not everybody. I mean, Eric, I'm sure Eric Singer was 100% sure that this will never happen because he was in the rehearsal room. He told me later that in the rehearsal room he saw that the level of Peter Criss drumming was very low, and he said if he plays like this, there's not going to be a chance for him to handle a concert or even worse, a tour. So Eric was probably 100% sure that this wouldn't lead to the reunion. Instead, I think maybe hoping the diehards though were thinking if MTV Unplugged will get the right recognition, will get lots of exposure, then this will be the trampoline to greatest heights, to the reunion. And so it will, definitely, I thought so. Yeah. I thought that this was just the first step to it. Because also before that, there was always them talking bad things about each other. Instead, with the reunion tour and with the convention tour official, if you think about it, they were celebrating the past. Yeah. They were dusting off and putting together all the Kiss costumes, the makeup. They got Peter, they got Ace, and actually were able to play a few songs together. So it was obvious, at least to me, that at least they were trying to shop around. What if we put the makeup back on? Like, let's say, they threw the fish and see if somebody would be hooked. So it was just a test more than anything. Let's see if. But I remember that even in 1988, I heard that in Japan they offered them big money to put the makeup back on. Yeah. So that the fact that some promoters would offer them a lot of money to put the makeup on was something, that once in a while people was offering them. I'm sure that they were just trying to see what was the best timing. But you see, also the convention tour comes from the Kiss convention from the fans. They didn't realize how much people loved the band from the beginning with the makeup, because they were in the band, and until they actually saw the reaction from all the fans, they were really even more caring about the makeup days and the no makeup days. Then from one thing to another, little by little, they figured out that they could have come back with the makeup in a big blast, as they did. I mean, yeah, and I'm sure that Paul and Gene knew it for sure. I mean, Eric didn't have a clue, and I'm sure that Paul and Gene didn't want Eric or Bruce to have ideas about, and they kept it, you know, you do Carnival of Souls, you know, you write, you may take care of the new album, we take care of the big business. So, well, yeah, no, the fans were always thinking.
When did you hear about the reunion tour at the first?
I think no. I think I just saw it from the media.
You did because I was told in the end of January, beginning of February in '96 that it was supposed to happen.
Actually, the fact is that in memory doesn't help me. No. I don't remember of somebody kind of like telling me, oh, you know, this is gonna happen. And it's strange because something like this I would remember. Yeah. So I don't know when I found this out.
Because the first time I was told, I was no, it won't happen. So. Then suddenly you had that they showed up just a couple of weeks after almost. It could be been in February, I think.
Yeah, the Grammy
28th of February.
Yeah. But I'm not sure now if when I saw the Grammy Awards, I knew it a long time before that. I don't know how that worked out. I don't know if they did it as a surprise at that Grammy Award or they announced it before. It could be that they didn't say much and just showed up like that just to give the big surprise to everybody. But yeah, no, I'm sorry, but I cannot remember of knowing it way in advance. Can I help you there?
No.
My memory is what it is. I mean,
but the Kiss was going like this, going down
before the reunion.
After the Revenge album and after the Alive 3, and then they did some small tours in South America and nothing in US or in Europe.
Yeah, I mean, they were not really doing much interesting after Revenge. It was good, but after Revenge there wasn't much that kept the band high. So probably that is also one of the reasons why Paul and Gene thought maybe we can count on the makeup, because if you remember, they took the makeup off when there was not much interest around the band after the Elder Creatures. Even if it was a great album, nobody cared. So then they say, where can we go? I mean, and let's take off the makeup and make some. So I think it could be a similar situation where they realized that without the makeup they were just doing not so good, and at the same time they were seeing the convention and all the die-hard Kiss fans are really dreaming about the makeup days. And so then they say, let's try and see if this could be a way. In fact, testing the water with the Kiss convention, and then they realized that there was. Because the convention were really good, they went really well, and MTV Unplugged was pretty good as well.
Yeah.
So at the end, at that point, I think they realized, what do? We do another album like Carnival of Soul, doing Surviving, or let's go for the reunion. Also, as they were getting older, I mean. it's good to wait to create the anticipation, but once at a certain point, there is also a matter of age. Can you handle with the health? And so I'm sure they realized that they couldn't wait much longer, and so that's how they went. But yeah, no, I don't remember exactly when there was the news of them putting back the makeup on.
But how did the reunion affect you and the fan club?
Well, there was two different stories and two different ways that affected me. One is because when I did the convention tour in Australia, I met this girl that became my wife then, and I actually moved to Australia in '97.
Okay.
End of '96, beginning of '97. So you know, I was with this girl like from August '95. So basically, the convention tour. Basically, after the MTV Unplugged, I got you know, involved with this Australian girl, Joanne, and so not much after the Kiss reunion started. And at that point, I was right in the middle of moving to Australia. So trying to organize the business to be handled also from the other side of the planet. And so I had like a big, a lot of things to do to make sure that everything would work fine, even so far away. And Kiss, when they put the makeup back on, there was another strange situation because I had a certain relationship with the band, which was fairly close, even though, you know, not major. But with the reunion, it became kind of like, you know, they didn't consider me at all. Because it's obvious. I mean, I don't blame them because it's a normal thing. You go from being a rock star, an old rock star that nobody cares much. You have the attention here and there from one or two magazines. So you're not that busy. All of a sudden, all magazines from all over the world wants to talk to you, wants to put you in cover, wants to have you on TV. I mean, major things. And if already we're not spending that much time and effort with the fan clubs before, think about it when they had all that, you know, amount of major press after them. So basically, at that point, I was like, if I had a laminate, you know. In fact, at the first time that I went in America, I asked for passes and I was given the okay by Gene. But when I arrived in America, the security guards didn't give me my passes for at least 1 week, making excuses like, oh, well, the band, we have to double check. You're not in this list, but maybe you're in another. I'll go, I'll see. A few shows were passing that I was only getting tickets at the door and not laminate. And I'm thinking, hey, you know, that's not nice because Gene, I have a fax and I had it with me, I brought it with me. When Gene approved all my, you know, my passes for all the shows that I was going, and but I was only getting tickets. So then when I was at the hotel, and the few seconds that I was able to talk to Gene, because it wasn't anymore the hotel lobby without the makeup, with not many people and them relaxing. It was a crowd outside each hotel. And so it was very hard to find some moments to talk. So, but after a little bit, I was able to talk to Gene. I said, Gene, you know, you approved me by passes, but, you know, the security guard keep inventing stories, but it's not giving me anything. But then I realized that probably it was in reality a situation where the band wanted to give me the laminates, but at the same time had too many requests, and so not to have too many people in each backstage. They were trying to stop or slow down somebody, and let's say buy time, take time to because they had too much requests. So I felt a bit disappointed. Was also to my wife. I'll say, "Oh, Kiss always when I go, they always happy to see." Yeah, and at the end, no, that's how they like you. They ignoring you full on. It's like, yeah, well. So it was embarrassing and it was disappointing because the time was going by and I was just pretty much just getting free tickets to the show, which everything is better than nothing. But compared to the treatment I had before the makeup, it was a letdown.
Yeah.
But as I said, I'm understanding people. I always try to judge and analyze the situation. I must admit that in their shoes, it was probably not easy to handle everybody. For them, the worst thing, in fact, was probably things like the Madison Square Garden. I went to see the 4 shows there, and I had laminates there. But those kind of shows where it's their hometown, the reunion, if you think about it, everybody wants to be in backstage there. All the friends there, even from far away, from a friend of a friend. So I'm sure, and I remember that at the one in the Madison Square Garden, I don't know why, but I ended up finding myself in a situation where they were checking the list of the photographers.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't in the photography list for New York, obviously. Because at that tour, I would try and get photo passes in the obscure cities, small cities.
Yeah.
In New York, you have all the major press. It would be even stupid for me to ask for a photo pass in New York. I can see other shows. I don't have to take New York photos. But I remember there was Lydia was disappointed because they actually scratched her out of the list of the photographers.
Wow.
And she was upset because it's like, I'm almost one of the band in a way. I'm one of the original drummer. You cut anybody, you don't cut me. But they had to make hard choices sometimes. And because, say, Lydia, okay, is a forever, but who works with? And instead, they favored more the people who could give her more visibility in the media. So, I mean, it's logic. It's logic, and you cannot blame them. I mean, they just made the decision according to what is better for the band.
Yeah.
No, I know who is more of a friend. And it makes sense. It's a band. It's a business. And they gotta, upset somebody, but still. You cannot please everybody, so you gotta make that. But
now we're in '96. Now we have to tell the Gene story.
Oh, no, it went last time. Basically, in that time there were CD-ROMs that started to be available, and CD-ROMs were like a CD disc that you put in the computer. And you would interact with it. Yeah. So basically, you would be able to click. Now it seems like a stupid thing. You couldn't do that. But at the time, you couldn't click on something like an interview, and it would start the interview, and then it was a bit like a web page, but it wasn't a web page. It was a standalone product.
Yeah.
And you navigate through the disc, and so. You could go in the photo gallery, you could go listen to some rare music or interviews, and a lot of companies were using that as a media, even for promotion. They would send the CD-ROM or something, and nobody made the one for Kiss, and there was a friend of mine who worked in Milan, Paolo Piccini. You probably might have heard this name because he wrote a book, the one with the yellow book with Gene Creatures of the Night photo in the cover. It was one of the books where there were no books around. And he was a friend of mine because he used to work for the rock magazine in Italy. And so I would get in touch with him when there was a Kiss article to publish into the in national magazine. And this guy at one point ended up leaving the magazine and starting working for a company who create CD-ROMs for major names, Coca-Cola, Sony, major companies. So he had the knowledge to create one. And so he came to me and he said, Nico, why don't we make one of Kiss? You give me the material, the content, and I know how to put it together. And so then maybe we can show Kiss, and maybe they can make an official one. And I'm thinking, oh, that's a cool idea, because if you can do this at this item at this high level, you know, maybe it could be a good official original product. And I say, let's make one, and then I can show Gene, and if they like it, we'll see how it goes. So I made this one, and no one. I printed 1,000 copies of it. But on the end, well, all this explanation I'll tell you when it comes to Gene, because otherwise I'll repeat myself, because that's the same reasoning that I gave him. So anyway, I went to the tour in '97, I think, or end of '96 or beginning '97, and I went to see some shows around South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, those places there, Washington, and the Lower East Coast. And I arrived at the venue, and I, you know, I went backstage, because I usually, when I was a new tour, I would always have all my passes on my neck. And actually, just a second, mi prendi I passi che stanno attaccati al muro, I passi quelli, mi prendi la cosa. Sorry, with passes around my neck with all tours. But I was getting, that's my son behind me, is getting me, that's Jordan. Okay. All right. And so these are, you know, this is what I usually wear around my neck. Yeah. All the back passes from all the time, you know, cycles here, whatever. I used to have them on myself every tour, even as a not a show off, but like being proud of. I had all the tours since the Revenge, and so I would always arrive to a new tour with this on my neck and go backstage without having any real passes of that tour. But this one, usually they think, oh, this guy belongs backstage with all those stuff around his neck. And basically I would go backstage, and then I would see the tour manager or some band members and say, oh, look, I just arrived, you know, where are my passes? And at that time, I arrived with all their passes. I went to Gene, and I was like, "Hey, Gene, how you doing? Oh, good to see you." And he would always, every tour I would go see him, the first question would always be, "What you have for me?" Because sometimes I would bring him a magazine with Kiss on cover, or the new issue of Strike, or you know, whatever, something. No, not like a pack of things. Like if there was 2-3 things that could be that I know he might want to have, I would bring him. And so I say, oh, what you have for me? And I say, oh, there's a new issue of Strike. Oh, that's nice. And what about, do you have anything else? And it's like, no, not really. And then he went like, don't you have like a CD-ROM that you gotta show me? Like, oh, the CD-ROM. At that point, I didn't, you know, I was afraid that because the idea when I created it was to, you know, to even show him. But when the actual product was made and I started selling, then I realized that probably they wouldn't like it and consider it as a merchandise item, non-licensed. and so Jim goes, so what is the CD-ROM that you've done? I say, oh, and then I went like, oh, didn't you get it in the mail? But that's one lie that I said. So I was embarrassed, and I said, oh, well, didn't you get it in the mail? I sent it in the mail. He said, no, we didn't get it in the mail. Do you have one here? And I'm like, okay, now he knows, basically. I realized, okay, stop. I said to myself, stop lying. Let's go for the whole truth. And so I said, yeah, well, I got one in the car if you want. If you didn't get the one in the mail, which I never did send. But so I said, well, when I'll see you again, I'll bring you there. And he said, no, go now, go to the car, get me the CD. And I'm like, yeah, but now you're probably busy, you know. Oh, no, I want to see it now. It's like, okay, wait here, and I'll go get it. So I go to the car, I bring the CD, he gets it, and it's like, Nico, what have you done? And I'm like, yeah, it's a CD-ROM. And it's like, oh, but this is not right. There's a Kiss logo here. This is a merchandise item. And it's like, hey, it's not really. I said, this is a new way of, you know, of having a magazine. That is paper, that is digital. It's, you know, stories and photos put together. And I said, no, this is a merchandise item. It's not like a publication. And I was like, well, you know, I did this. And it's like, how many copies you did of this? And I'm like, I made 1,000 copies. 1,000 copies. And I was like, and how much you selling it? I say, oh, you know, I don't know if it was $20, $40, something like that. And he was like, oh, 1,000 copies. You're making a lot of money. I'm like, well, I'm making. I said, you know, it costs a lot of money to create one of these. And he's like, yeah, but you're not supposed to do it. I'm going to sue you now. And I'm like, what do you mean? Yeah, I'm going to call my lawyer and I'm going to sue you. I'm going to get all the money off you. And I'm like, say, what can I do? I was like a bit embarrassed. You know, Nico, you understand? You will have to close the fan club because of this, because you know, we'll get all the money off you. You'll be broke. And I'm like, you know, wait, you know, I didn't know what. I say, Gene, what can I do? What can I say? You know, you want to close my fan club? Close the fan club. It was nice. If I had to close it, and he was like, "Hey, no, don't joke. You know, I'm serious." Because I was a bit like, you know, a bit like smiling, a bit like serious. I was like, "Yeah, this is something serious. You're not supposed to do this. This is breaking the law." And I'm like, "Yeah, but you know, I also did it because I wanted to show you." And here, this is part of the reason. I wanted to show you. What my friend could do, because this is a friend of Milano, does this, and I created this, so then maybe you can think of making an official one, and you put the content we created, and we work a deal. They say, yeah, so you're making a proposal, yeah, but if you want to suggest me a merchandise, you don't make 1,000, you make one, you make a prototype, you give it to me, and we talk money. And I'm like, yeah, but once I say it costs a lot of time and effort to do it. Once you make one, might as well make more and cover the cost. And I'm like, Nico, no, that's not the way to do it. You know, you'll be sued. I'm just gonna go and call the lawyer. And I'm like, Okay, yeah, well, I'm sorry, but what can I do? And I just went myself. I was with my friend who helped me with the fan club there, with Alessandro Tozzi.
Yeah.
And Emanuele, you heard about Alessandro, and Emanuele was the other one. Emanuele Loporto were the two guys who always with me helped me with the fan club. So Alessandro was with me at that point, and I turned to Alessandro as like, Oh, and the funny thing is, like, when we were shouting, Jim was actually shouting at me, and I was like next to him, and Jim was like shouting like, "You not supposed? I'm gonna be, like," and I was like, well, but it was a funny thing. I mean, in a way, I was not sure what was the limit of how serious it was, and I wanted to scare me, just to scare me, or I was upset about it, because it was a fine line. In some sentences, it really felt upset sometimes. But anyway, after this, I went to my friend and was like, Alessandro, you think we're gonna get the laminates this tour? Maybe not. maybe we go buy the tickets for the show. Oh, 5 times go by, the manager arrived with 2 laminates. Oh, Nico, here's the laminates for you. So maybe Jim wasn't too upset about it.
So you didn't hear anything more about it?
No. But no, I didn't get the lawyer.
No.
That's a great story, though.
That was funny because I was in big trouble and I didn't know how to get away from it. I tried to pretend that I didn't it, but it didn't work.
But then you knew where the line was then.
Yeah. But you see, at the time, I don't know. For me, really, this was a way to make money for the fan club. And really, in a way, it was an halfway because it's like a future magazine. It's like magazine on a disc where instead of going to the page, you click to the page and you listen to the article instead of reading, and you watch videos and photos. So in a way, it was like a magazine on a new format. And as it was new to the market, people didn't really know how to consider it. It is a magazine, it is a merchandise. So it was a fine line between the merchandise or magazine formative item. So I wanted to see how was their reaction too. But that's why there was volume 1. And never arrived in volume 2. No. That was supposed to be, the first was up until Creatures, and then the next was going to be, there were supposed to be 3 we planned, but we stopped at 1 and said, okay, that's good enough before we really get sued by the band. But there was a funny story, and that's also tells you, the relationship with the band. I mean, I was allowed to do things, but they would always keep me in line, also because I was a bit like trying always to make room and try and do more things more than I was supposed to. I was always trying to see where my limits were. A bit like when a kid, with the parents try and do naughty things and see if the parents say, oh no, and then he stops. But if the parent doesn't say anything, he keeps doing bad things until. So I wanted to also find my borders, where I could move and push a little bit here and there, trying to, But all in a good way. I mean, all in love for the band, and trying always to do great things for the band and for the fans. Yeah. That was the bottom line of everything was that. My collection also, to try and get my collection bigger. But Yeah, my collection was never really a priority. I mean, the best thing was for me not the item. To be honest, I started collecting because there was no internet, there was no other way to get things. I mean, you wanted to see photos, you buy a book. You wanted to enjoy the band, you wanted to listen to something, you could buy the record, or bootleg or official. There was no way to get things for free and unlimited. So collecting for me was just try and grab as much as I could of the band I love. It wasn't more like thinking, oh, I buy this because it got this value, and if I resell it, I can make more money. And it was never like a business venture. It was more to get. In fact, for me, if I would spend the money to get more stuff, even if it was not valuable, like for example, you could buy a toy from the 70s, and you know that you spend like $100 there, that item would keep collecting money, like the Mego dolls and stuff like that. There were items that everybody knew that those items will always go up in price. Instead, there were items that you know they will never go up in price, like magazine articles, magazine Kiss, those ones you spend money, but who you sell it to? I mean, it was really nothing thinking about how much value more you could get in the future. So I was the one who was getting magazine. I got like 30,000 pages of magazine clippings from all over the world. So it was more spending to get stuff that was interesting instead of getting things of value as a collectible. So there's a different way of things. In fact, probably if I was a Kiss fan today, I would probably not even have a collection. I would spend probably the full day in front of the screen of the TV on the computer to read and listen and watch photos without spending money, but just because enjoying the stuff. But at the time I had no choice. There was only collecting, and so that's why I was a Kiss collector. But and so.
Just thinking about you still continued the fan club until 2000, but was it a lot more difficult doing it from Australia then?
Well, the hardest part wasn't to do it from Australia. The hardest part is to have a wife.
Okay.
because before 95 I was always single, and as I said before, 7 days a week, 15 hours a day, just Kiss. And I would only use few hours to go out with friends, but not having a steady girlfriend helped a lot, because you don't have to dedicate her the time. And actually my girlfriend was Kiss, good or bad. And so the problem was that I got involved with my wife. Problem for the fan club. I was happy, but obviously I had to move some money that I would always use to make the club bigger, to spend them with her. And sometimes that would, before use for the fan club, I would have to spend it with her time, and so that was the problem of the fan club. And being in Australia wasn't a problem, because I would write at the time we were already computers. I would write the magazine on a computer, make the actual layout on the computer, prepare the disc with the layout and everything, sent it to my printer in Rome, which was still in Rome, my printer, and once it would be printed, I had like a truck would come and pick up the magazines for the distribution in news agents, because we skipped a couple of things, but at one point I started selling in news agents, and then my friends Alessandro and Emanuele from Rome would deliver all the magazine to all the members. They will take care of also the orders, merchandise orders. So directing from Italy wasn't a problem. The only problem was in Italy is merchandising, because I was far away from New York or America, from the East Coast, and to fly to the East Coast for a convention was a lot more expensive, and it was no more convenient. So I kind of stopped myself. Did he fell from the chair? Uh-oh, did he broke the computer?
No, I think it's his phone.
Either he got too excited or he fell asleep.
Yeah.
Oh, well. Okay, glad to see you back. It's still working. We can tell you it's working on your computer.
I have my phone.
Okay.
Okay.
Oops.
Yeah, it's fine, Magnus.
You see me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Still working.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm saying that it was harder for me to go to the States to do all the Kiss conventions, because in the 90s, 93, 94, 95, I was always going to almost all of the conventions in America, and I would go there either selling my strike, trading strike for merchandise, whatever, and buy other stuff. So the convention became like a fixed appointment for me. Every time there was Orlando, Toronto, Chicago, New York. There was always these conventions that were going every year, and I would go to all of them, and every time was always beneficial, because I would find always new stuff to sell for the fan club with strike. And instead, when I was in Australia, I couldn't do them anymore, and so I had to always order merchandise from America. But one thing is, when you go with the suitcases, you fill them up with merchandise and you back. And one thing is paying the shipment, paying the customs, and all these extra expenses. A lot of times I would just come in the country with 2 suitcases full of merchandise and whatever. It's my collection. I didn't really. So.
How do you feel how did you feel the end came? Did you decide to quit the club, or did it just die out by itself?
No, it died out, but the idea wasn't really to make him die. It was just to pause it a little bit, because it all came to an end when my son was born.
Yeah.
Because. With my wife, things were going down, and it wasn't too. That's Peter Criss. Yeah. So with my wife, it slowed me down a lot. Yeah. But I could still do it. It wasn't as profitable, and but I could survive.
Okay, then we lost him.
Okay.
I'm here.
Not your picture.
In spirit. He's with us in spirit.
Okay.
I'm here.
Yeah.
Okay, can we hear? We can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
And so, can I go?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So basically, the big problem for a fan club was when my son was born, because at that point I had to decide, am I going to be a good father, or I should continue with the fan club, because the fan club wasn't just a job, 9 to 5, where I could have a private life. The fan club was the private life.
Yeah.
So if I wanted to raise a child, hello.
Yeah.
Welcome back. So if I wanted to raise a child and have a private life like every other normal human being, then I couldn't do the fan club because the fan club was only profitable or made a sense or money-wise if I was working full-time.
Yeah.
It's not that if I was making, let's say, $1,000 or $2,000 a month to live, then if I spend half the time, I would make half the money. And no, either I would spend 15 hours a day and make that amount, but if I would decide to work half the time, I would make nothing at all because of the nature of the job. That's why not many people did what I did, but just because not many people wanted to live the life the way I did. I mean, I was only doing Kiss things. For me, it was a pleasure, and I was enjoying every minute. For me, it wasn't even working. It was looking after my hobby, my passion. I was just enjoying every minute of my life. I didn't care if my life was different from 99% of the rest of the people. That was my life, and I was having a ball. But there was a life that either you do it that way or you don't do it at all. And so when I had my son, I had to decide, I cannot do part-time the father and part-time the fan club, either one or the other. So I said, okay, let's do the father. And as soon as there will be less pressure on me or I can handle things better, then I can go back to the Kiss things. But unfortunately, I didn't realize how hard it was to raise a kid. And so I had to do it full time. So I started doing a regular job, and make a regular pay. It was all weird for me because I never really lived that way. But but at least I can say that I raised my child the way I wanted. At that point, I mean, I don't regret that. I mean, with Kiss Plus, I did everything I wanted to do and more. I never really dreamed to reach the level I did. Everything that I did years before were just, things that I could dream and never even think they could possibly be done. And so once I reached more than I could expect, I was fairly satisfied. I was always at the same, traveled the world 2-3 times in the same cities. So, it became a bit of routine, great routine, but still routine. And so things were pretty much normal in a certain way. Being a father was something new. And I didn't really plan it. My son came from love. and we didn't make a schedule. We make a child, we buy this, things comes. But once I had a son, I want to make sure that I would do that perfect. And if I had time spare, I would do Kiss, but top priority was this. But on the other hand, I was also thinking, if I can handle both things, why not doing Kiss as well along with the other things? The problem is that I never really got to do it. Even now, I'm always thinking of somehow coming back, but because I still have you don't see, but up there's an old wall long and also some with all merchandise and stuff because when my son was born, I didn't make a sale. I'll close the fan club, I deal with my son, I sell everything was kind of frozen there waiting for me to start again. So it's all kind of ready to start again. And so it was never a plan to stop. And actually, the plan was to start, and it still is, to start again. But in the meantime, things evolved. Now you cannot really do a magazine anymore. I mean, not the way Nicola does.
Yeah.
What? Except Nicholas surprised me. Nicholas was my director for a time in Sweden, and I always admired him in a way that he's got his own job and he's got two girls, two little girls. I went to see him, 2 or 3 now. At what time? What number arrived? It's still 2. Okay.
2. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Didn't make any more damage.
And they are big girls now also.
Well, when I remember them, they were little. I went to see them some time ago. And I admire him because he has got his own business, his own work, plus he's got the family with 2 kids, and he can still do the magazine. One thing, though, that I don't like to do the way he does is that, unfortunately, I like to do everything myself. I like to write, I like to do the graphic, I like to create myself. And I like to do so much everything that either I spend the full time or I don't want to do it. I don't like to, oh, you do this, you do that, and have 20 people around me to do things and then put together. When I do something, I like to do it myself. And so Nicholas can do it because he liked this way, or he accepts to work the way. For me, you know, when I do something, I do something. Nobody else. It's not like a book. In fact, is one of the options. Exactly. I mean, I figure. I mean, the new way of doing fan club is what you guys are doing. You know, it's. I mean, there was different levels. First, it was the fanzine. Then it comes the web page, where whatever you write on a magazine, you put online, and it was already better. Then now you come with the podcast, which is even better than typing and putting photos. You actually talk about things, which is a new level. And the thing is that you got to do also what you like to do. I don't know if I'll be able to do what you guys do because it doesn't belong to what I would like to do. I like to create things. And so if I'll do something, I'll probably do a book. And I'm thinking, because now I'm a professional photographer, meaning that not just I'm good as a professional, but also I live with photography and video. I do photo and video. And then it would make sense for me to do one day a book, photographic book, in a way that more photos than text. Maybe write comments, write stories about how I did this photo. But I was thinking more create something like visual. That is something. But having said so, I still got all negatives boxed up. It's not easy to go through. It's something that I might say, and I probably said this years ago that I wanted to do it, but I don't know if I'll ever get to do it. But definitely a book or a series. At one point, I mean, some ideas just to, you know, just at one point I thought of doing maybe a book for every tour, and then you know, make a series of books, not just one, and go in deep with every tour, especially the tour that I went. Either with just my photos or which means book of every tour, but from my point of view. Many ideas come and go from my head of how I want to do it. So I don't know if I will ever find the time, and at that time, whatever will be my idea of that. But a book is a natural way of continuing. You know, that will be probably something. It's just that when you write a book, you also got to write interesting things and probably most of the interesting things are already put in the strike, and the latest things are so well documented every day online. I mean, there's a show yesterday. Today we already have the photos from backstage, front stage, side, everything that is possibly you want to know about every single show. Or even if they go to a radio station, you get, I mean, it's so much well reported the last period. What information can you give? So if I found a way that would be something cool, something that you know, either nobody else thought about it or something that I think it would be cool if I do this, probably I will. But at the same time, I also got to find the time to do this. The thing is that at the moment, I would like to. My son is 16, you saw it before. So far, I'm still looking after him. But if he will go on his own and I will have some time off, yeah, definitely Kiss is one of the things I like to spend my time on. Because I love photography. In fact, with Kiss, photo and video were always things that I like to do, layout, everything that is visual I love. And now I do it on every clients that come to the studio, or better clients and Kiss. Clients in a way subject, because they probably will always have things done for free for them. One thing that I was thinking that I could be cool is what Kid does, you know, Kid LaRue. You know, if he holds the band and he puts online things. He does a great job, but unfortunately he doesn't have the professional knowledge to do it professional. I mean, what he does, and he does it simple, basic with the phone. You could do it professional items, professional cameras, edited in professional way, and do a better service for the fans. So that could be something that I would love to do. You know, be alongside with him to document everything they do, but not like with low quality, in high professional level. But that is something more like a dream, because Keith is a great guy, is in the right position. In fact, sometimes I give him some tips on how to take better photos, to buy better, because if he improves, we all gonna benefit from it. And I would love to, you know, be his assistant and guide him to do the right thing. But you know, there's to do something like that, you need to move to the States. You know, I live him as a dream. I always dream many things. Some become true, some are just dreams, you know. But definitely that is something very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, that's pretty much the beginning were the good days.
Yeah. Fantastic.
It's been my pleasure. Because I look at these things that you guys do, you Three Sides and all that, and I always think, oh, what a great way now to communicate to fans. So now that I'm part of one of them, I'm really very happy. So thanks.
Cool.
Oh, yeah.
Kissing.